Dear Venerable Sister and the brothers, Dhamma friends, today is the second day in our retreat. We are going to have a day's talk. May everyone settle down and seated and give the consent with 3 times sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Kiva chirena ko nuko bhante bhikkhu tathagatang vinekang labamano ditteva dhamma sayang abhiññā saccikattva upasampajja viharayanti ti. Dear Venerable Sister, brothers and Dhamma friends, today introducing this particular discourse, namely the Bodhiraja Sutta, we came to know that particular discourse come under the middle-length sayings. That means in such a sutta, there are a number of episodes, number of important points come into the discourse. So therefore one has to go one after the other, then only you can get the gist of the idea. This particular sutta start from the event where the Prince Bodhiraja built a house and take the occasion to give a meal, a lunch to the Buddha and the disciples, and it's a kind of a preliminary stage of try to invoke blessings of the Buddha and Sangha, and this is the way it has started in ancient way. So when the Buddha come into the house, the prince goes forward and accept him, and after few events take into the main hall and treat the Buddha and the Sangha, and then there is a dialogue, a discussion between the main donor or the generous person as well as the Buddha starts, and where the Bodhiraja, the sponsoring person, the generous person, he says, sukhena na sukhang adhikantabbang. He says, you can't gain pleasure by pleasure, only you can gain the pleasure by pain. And then, as we discussed yesterday, the Buddha says, yes, that is what I thought before my full enlightenment, or as a Buddha to be, and where I thought that you can't gain the pleasure by pleasure, you only can gain through the pain. So that was the spirituality, that was the religious practice at that time. So whenever you are entertaining sensuous pleasure, they consider as you are a lay person. Whenever you are going for self-mortification or austerity, then consider as a spiritual person. And this is the way it was presented in the society at large, in the historical time of India. And to prove it, the way the Buddha to be behaved, he mentioned the austere practices he has taken chronologically about 6 years, and this particular sutta, Bodhiraja Sutta, if you have time, you can read it, and episode by episode, event by event, he explained how much he started this self-torturing or mortification or austere practices, and so much so, nearing the completion, the Buddha says that I can't think there won't be any better way to torture oneself than the practice that I have done. Not that it is good, but he has gone to the edge, gone to the brim and explained in such a way. So even present day, whenever someone is in self-torturing or the opposite of sensuous or gratification, many people consider it as the religious way, that is the austerity, and that is how the people were thinking. And present day, they take this as a norm, so that many people, without that kind of a genuine agenda, genuine idea, they appear in front of other people that I am a person practicing this austerity or self-mortification, and that is very easy way to get the cheap popularity. So Buddha mentioned the world take 4 measures to gauge others. The first thing is the appearance. So if someone is appear to be looking good, so people just follow it. That is what the models and the present day film industry, advertising industry. So this is what people use it, just show the appearance. So appearance-wise, people go without any questioning. And the second thing is, the people take, any person taken this austerity or self-mortification, they just follow them, thinking they are the real role models, and hardly any person cross-check as to whether they have any other meaningless agenda or is true to type. So therefore, the Buddha, having a very beautiful appearance and undergoing this kind of austere practices, no one can come as a peer, and he has such a rhetoric power, and all these 3 qualities he never appreciate as the final norm or final method. Someone to gauge others, one has to understand Dhamma, one has to practice, and one has to be prepared for this kind of a wider view, correct view, and the correct kind of thinking. So this particular Bodhiraja Sutta is explaining that you can't gain the pleasure through pleasure, but through pain. So that does not indicate this is the philosophy. The Buddha is philosophizing, but he says historically that is what happens. So the major body of the discourse explain one by one how he practiced. It is not a commentary, it is directly the Buddha is explaining. So many people caught it to see the 6 years where he has taken these austere practices, and at the end, only after going through, he come to a place where surrounding is clear, and he says, as we took yesterday, 3 examples, how to kindle fire with a log or sapling underwater. Whatever the dry wood you are going to rub against, there won't be accumulation of temperature. And if the log is just taken out of water and still wet, even then it is impossible. And once it's dried only, your effort will be fruitful. So there may be a chance the temperature may be come up to the kindling in a level. And after explaining these 3, only he says he got the real striving. So far he was trying. So to understand what does it mean by trying, and how that trying change into the striving is a big change. So someone has to try while you are doing this trial and error or trying. It's a huge wastage of time. huge wastage of energy, huge wastage of all the resources. But there is no other way. So everyone has to keep on trying. While trying, you gain kind of a self-confidence, and it's completely a coincidence, and then onward you start striving. That striving is one of the aspects the Buddha is highlighting, not as a bodhisattva, the Buddha to be, but is after the enlightenment, is taking a chance to explain the difference between the trying and striving. To come to that episode, we have to proceed according to this particular discourse, whereby the Buddha explained, after taking these austere practices, he found he has undergone so much of pain, exerting so much, but still there is no results at your eye shot. So ultimately it happened him to reconsider that the pleasure won't going to give any pleasure, but the pain. So he give a slight reconsideration. Now I have gone to the edge of this pain, but there is no sign. And then it occurred to him, the Prince Siddhartha, as a 7-year-old prince, went to this ploughing ceremony, and where he got the first jhana with the jhanic factors, and ultimately he raised up to the level of this mango tree and managed to live on air. And it is completely opposite now. He is self-torturing, mortification, and now he knows that there is no way to go. He has gone to the edge, there is no positive thing. What about going back to this jhanic pleasure? So this one is a kind of a revolutionary thinking or radical kind of thinking, even though at the beginning the Bodhiraja, the Prince Bodhiraja says, Nako sukhena sukhang adhigantabbang, dukkhena ko sukhang adhigantabbang. That is the principle. But the Buddha says, yes, I also tried it. I went parallel with this concept. I went there, but whatever the suffering, whatever the pain I have taken, not with fruits. And then it occurred him to think about, or take the Prince Siddhartha at the age of 7 as his teacher. What about going for this jhanic pleasure, or getting the jhanic factors, and when he's going to appreciate little bit of vitakka, vichara, piti, sukha, ekaggata, that means the applying thoughts and the discursive thought and some kind of a rapture and kind of pleasure, then mind become concentrated. That's a appreciation towards the samatha bhavana or concentration meditation. And while he was doing, then he found kind of a progress. So ultimately it happened him to understand or appreciate, even if he mentally accept these 5 jhanic factors, his body must support it. So ultimately he tried to eat little and give the basic facilities or basic needs of the body, and then only he found both of them are now progressing, and ultimately he went up to the supreme powers and got the enlightenment. And then think about how to communicate this kind of a striving to a commoner. Difficult. No one will understand. Everyone think the linear formulas or books or methods or blessings or compensate with other merits. Never. So ultimately he decided no use, because the way appear like a coincidence, appear like a kind of a mixture of everything. So after he decided not to teach, then one Brahma or the celestial being came and told Bhante, after that everything, if you are not going to declare it, if you are going to state it, then utter lost to the world. So there won't be any parallel person like you, but there may be some people with less defilements. They may make up their mind to strive through, so therefore please. Then after the factor refresh Buddha going to teach, then he has to select to whom to communicate with. Again it happened him to consider Alakarama, Udrakarama Putra, one of the Samatha teachers he went through during the 6 years, and while he is contemplating, he found both of them, Alakarama, Udrakarama Putra, passed away within 1 day or within 7 days. So there won't be any chance for them, and it's also there's a point because they have gone up to the very high level of concentration, jhanic experiences. So now they have reborn in a sphere. There is no listening power, there is no hearing power. So they have to completely spend their spell in this Brahma world, then only they will come back again to the sphere where they can listen to the Dhamma. Even the Buddha wished to teach them, their message never reached them because their level of concentration is not with common sense. So therefore, they are very highly developed people, concentration-wise, but they have never used it for the inside meditation. Ultimately now they have been as if put into the deep freezer and locked like. It's eons they have to be there. Then only then the Buddha thought about the 5 the assistants or disciples. Halfway they gave up the Buddha to be and went off. But they were acquainted with this ascetic called Siddhartha Gautama. Ultimately he went there, and even then, after walking about weeks on foot, no shoes, and then when go there he says that I am happy to share with you the experience that I gained. It is supreme, it is the final destiny, but they were not happy to listen. 3 times he told the 5 ascetics, this is what I am going to. Then he says, you and we are the same. But we have to listen from you. You are also a candidate in the same, we have done the same exam and you are also failure, I am also failure. So why should I listen to your tuitions? So then only it happened to the Buddha to tell him, that's a very, very hearty, very touchy point. He says, have I ever boasted before? Then only they looked at each other's face and says, the Siddhartha Gautama as an ascetic, no boasting. Then he asks, why? Why I did not? He says, during that time, I had no even light perception or light feeling in the body, because my path is correct, wrong. Now I am telling, I have something to tell, something to teach, because I went through the special kind of a knowledge, and then only they were little happy to listen, or kind of a faith, kind of a softness appear. And then after giving the sermon, at the end of the very first sermon, Venerable Kondanya got the first fruition, Vappa Badhya Mahana Masaji, in the consecutive 5 days, and the 6th day, according to the scriptures available for the moment, all 3, through the Anattalakkana Sutra, went into the final goal. And then the Buddha is giving this narration to the Bodhiraja, and then only the Bodhiraja is asking the question, I hope that if you are in the same character, you also would ask, okay, Bhante, Venerable Sir, when Bhikkhu or any disciple find a Tathagata. Tathagata means a person is unshaken person to discipline him. So you get to find a good teacher. how long will it take for the disciple to reach the goal, and how much it take? I mean, that is everyone having that question. If you get the real teacher, how long? What is the chronological gap period to get the enlightenment? The way the Buddha is answering is not humiliating him, but get involved in the question. It is the question. So if it is so, I have a question to you. You may give your answer. Through that only I can assimilate. I can give an answer to your question. You are a trainer and a skillful person to train elephants. Are you? Then he says yes. So being as a elephant trainer, and you know how to wield the gourd and climb the elephant and tame it, how long will it take you to take a wild elephant to up to this discipline level? And if the elephant is not listening to you, not ready to listen to you, but the Buddha says, how is the training process? And the elephant is sick, how is the process? Likewise, the Buddha give the basic 5 characteristics as the basic qualifications. Without that, how do you and how long will it take for you to tame the elephant? And he says, leave aside all the 5, even one quality is missing, I will not take that elephant as the tameable. I will leave it aside. So all these 5 qualities available, then only there is a hope. So that is the simile the Buddha is taken for us. He says, whenever someone is happy to be a meditator, we would say a beginner, he or she must have these basic qualifications, then only the communication starts, then only the progress starts. So these 5, they are called 5 limbs of striving. Without that, you may strive. It is not worth calling striving, it is worth calling trying. So even if you are striving, there should have 5 qualities, 5 limbs. And the very first one, the Buddha is telling the faith. So if the person coming to the Buddha or the teacher, whatever may be, if he or she is lacking in this quality of this faith, then useless taking time for teaching. So therefore, how much faith you must have to renounce the house, how much faith you must have to become a disciple, that to say ordination, how much faith you must have to restrain yourself in the morality, how much faith you should have to have jhanic factors or concentration, how much faith you must have for the wisdom training. There are different layers. So if that is not growing, whatever the skillfulness of the teacher won't be a fruitful thing. So therefore not only the teacher, but the disciple or the beginner should know that the faith must be ever increasing as and when someone is advancing. So therefore saddho hoti tathagatassa bodhing, he must believe that my teacher, the Buddha, is an enlightened being. And for my interpretation, the Buddha's teaching is no any agenda. That is the only thing you must understand. All the other teachers, they have worldly agendas, short agendas. So if you are attracted to the teacher through such an agenda, definitely not only you, by this popularity, even the teacher will deteriorate. That is what happened in the present day Buddhism. They are using it for therapy. They are using it for healing. And so much of popularity is coming. Each and every teacher each and every disciple go with the result-oriented way, and ultimately you can see the advertisement regarding the insight meditation, mindfulness, so much so, quick results. So ultimately you have to pay so much of money, and within that time you are going to get so much of results. So it has become a supply and demand theory. So this is not what the Buddha is mentioning here. So how to practice, how to develop this kind of a faith. The Buddha himself showing his own character while he was practicing as an ascetic in these 6 years, the kind of faith he was having. So therefore, but there is a philosophical basic question. Without faith, will a beginner consult a teacher? I think it never happened. You must have certain faith to meet the teacher. Otherwise, there should have someone to come and push you, someone to come and advertise you, marketing. But if you directly go to the teacher, definitely you have the faith. But that very faith, is that enough? I would say it is enough to start with. But that faith must be verified, that must be justified, slowly, more and more your faith become a verifiable faith, so much so your wisdom will be increasing. Therefore, Upandita Sayadaw, he used to say, so starting or opening balance of the faith is a gateway to any religion. Without that, you cannot be a religious person. So the Buddha, even though he is omniscient, with the omniscient knowledge, he also asked the faith as the opening balance. But that very faith is becoming more and more you put into the practice, they become verifiable, and it must be measurable, and it is growing. And that measuring, that verifiability, if you are not believing, you will have the opening balance enough to start, but there won't be any progress. So therefore, you have to understand, to even on the generosity, to give something to someone on dana basis, you must have faith. And they are, present day in the Buddhism, it says, if you give in this life, you are going to give double, triple in the next life. So who the hell is not going to invest for that kind of a profitable business? So therefore they are promoting your next life by giving this life. And that is what you call the religion. Any person dealing with the forward contract on that basis, they know their agenda. It is only enough for the generosity or dana, or giving something materiality. But instead of dana, if you are going to practice morality or moral restrainment or the sila sikha, you must have kind of a motivation in order to have this sila sikha. So in order to the motivation, present-day religion, including the Buddhism, is going to give so much of fables and so much of things, but the way the Buddha justify the sila is, you will be free of fear. If you have no sila, you have 4 kinds of fears. That means you yourself entertain ever the self-criticism. We had a complete life without much disabilities, and we have the basic knowledge, and we have the message, and even with that, if we are not having even the transgressional kind of defilements are not being restrained, you are not a civilized person, you are not a cultured person, you are not a gentleman. And therefore, being so, what a kind of mental situation you can entertain. In the night and day, the self-curse is there. So that is present day we call frustration. We call tension. Wherever you have transgressed, any social norm, then need not any you to go to the justify in the court and telling you are the culprit, but your self-curse is there. So therefore, if someone take the morality training or sila sikha or restrainment just to have the self-contentment or not to give your whole life for this frustration and tension, present day, at the society at large, you can say, whatever the social state, whatever the education level, whether you are a monk or a lay person, so much of frustration, so much of tension. And I am not telling that each and every tension is for lack of precepts, but that is one of the things. So therefore people think, even with the frustration and even with the tension, never mind, I must have so much of social status, prestige and all the kind of thing. By the time you understand the vanity of that old muck, it's too late. And therefore, Pandita Sayadaw, he says, when you go to the Western countries, he used to say, the first 10 years, the baby is lying on his or her back, and it's called Manda Dasaka. And the second 10 is called Krida Dasaka, a playful life. And the third one is Varna Dasaka, you show off, you are beautifying yourself. And the fourth is Bala Dasaka, arm powers, and people show their muscle power. And the fifth one is called Jnana Dasaka. You come to certain amount of maturity, you are psychologically reborn at 50s. So, first, second, third, fourth Dasaka, that means 10 years, when it's advancing, you can see how you are vulnerable at the in the 20s, 30s, 40s, and after 50s only, after finishing the 40s only, you become, so to say, mature enough. So by that time, your career, your name is already ruined as far as the Western countries and their children are concerned. Because there is no moral shame, and the moral fear is something negative for these countries to talk about because of the scientific education. And the science cannot live in the morality. So therefore education becomes more and more technological, and it is more and more infrastructural and systematic, so they have to do away. On philosophically you have to do away with the moral shame and the moral fear. So they grow in wealth and health and all the kind of thing, but the thing is, so much so frustration is developing. So in order to someone to say, till 50s, you have no maturity. What is the world is, what is the environment is, what is the society at large, then only you understand it is too late. Not only in the Western countries, even in the Eastern countries that is the case. So, imagine if someone is going to take precepts and the moral restrainment and the 20s, 30s and 40s, it's a kind of a miracle. I, in my personal life, in 26th age of 26, I happened to me about this idea of mindfulness. And I thought, it is none of my business because I am not a moral person. My hobby was the breaking precepts. That was. So I told, thank you very much, Bhante. Please teach someone else because I am not a person, because I am not concerned. I am not... I have no any feeling about the morality. Then lucky or unlucky enough, he told, the mindfulness is the only one aspect. Even if you accept you are not moral person, I can recommend you. Then I told, there should have something wrong, Bhante. That was Venerable Dhammika, he was an Australian. I told there should have something wrong because according to my understanding, you must be a moral person at least to start meditation. Then he asked me to replace the meditation by the term mindfulness. Don't use the term meditation, it is very, very glossed over word. Use mindfulness. So even then, 8 years, I was doing it as a hobby And while practicing, I underwent certain amount of changes in my likings and disliking and the personality, and I never found anyone to associate with as a peer group, because that the way it is happening, all the others are chasing behind the social prestige and money and all the kind of thing. I am also at that age, of course, yes. But when the mindfulness happens, no role models given in the society. So, more and more you go there, not I am going to make a theory out of that or any kind of contradictory theory. What I am telling is that your faith must be something verifiable. Otherwise, that faith is called superficial faith and unfounded faith. And I simply accept I don't have that kind of a faith. And whenever someone is going to give a criterion like mindfulness and do practice and see, and little by little, the number of thought moments you are being here and now is going to give a kind of momentum for your faith, or more your restrainment toward the morality, and it is something organic rather than sentimental. So that is very difficult idea to communicate, because world is engulfed with religious ideas. They say that you must be a religious person first and foremost, and then only you can go. Yes, that is the way you find in the theory, in the linear way. But there's another reciprocal way. Even if you have this is so-called that unfounded faith or superficial faith, if it is not something verifiable, it will never grow. So therefore, more and more you promote that kind of unfounded faith, it is never going to make any change in your likings and disliking. Nothing change in your personality. Anything going to happen with respect to the faith, there should have a kind of a verifiability. And then if you can give with that kind of effective way to the present day younger generation, I am not asking any moral restrainment. I am telling, if you mindful, that mindfulness will brood, give the moral restrainment, and when it is happening, it is not you are believing from the others. You can verify, if I practice not killing, not because the church and the temple and the priest is telling, you are not happy if someone come and kill you. So therefore, don't kill others. That's it. And if you are not happy, how can you make a thing that you can go hunting and fishing and be happy with killing? It's simple like that. And if you are not happy that someone come and self-service about your property and going to loot it, so what are the rights you have misappropriating other properties? So it is something you can verify. And sexual misconduct, everything, and lying, slandering, and intoxication. So these things you have to, if you go through the mindfulness way, and I know by expressing like this, I am getting committed, I am getting vulnerable. For that, you have to kill animal mindfully. Otherwise you will never learn. So when the killing happens, or you are doing or happen, don't try to get amused. Just be aware how difficult when you are killing, the torturing the animal is going through, not only the killer, not only the killed animal, but the killer. You can understand it. When you are looting, when you are robbing, you can see what a kind of burning you are going from beginning to the end. Each and every misconduct, lying, slandering, if you are mindful, you can see nothing go without a scar, nothing go without a kind of a burning inside you. If you are callous not to see it, it is due to your callousness. But if you become mindful and very sensitive, each and every precepts, when it is broken, You are the first person to feel it. So therefore mindfulness make you very sensitive. And therefore, as far as my personal life is concerned, I used to be a smoker, but not a chain smoker. And while practicing, it occurred to me it is not nice to smoke while I am practicing a meditation and kind of thing. And one day I had a cigarette when I was in the cold, and taste buds are everything gone. So with smoking I felt very bad taste, so I thought of give up. And I went to the teacher and told, but I am very happy, I gave up smoking. Then I asked, what happened? Then I told that today I smoke and it was a bad taste, I gave it. He said, you fool. Even you give up, when you heal from the cold, next day you will start smoking. Because this is emotional decision, it won't last. You please smoke mindfully. Then I told, what a kind of a thing you are teaching? I am a born Buddhist. You are a Catholic converted into Buddhism, and you are telling, do mistakes mindfully. Yes. Do it. So I am not going to tell you that. I am not prescribing you, professing that. What I am telling is, the day you do it right from the beginning, the middle to the end mindfully, then only you do with your first-hand experience. Then you can tell others, if you wish you smoke, that is for your bad karmic forces, you may do it. But it's utter torturing. Smoking. Everything. So therefore, when and where you stop, you do away with this transgressional kind of defilement, it is not out of fear. It is not out of fear the Almighty God. It is not fear due to that you will get into the jail. No, you understand it. And that part is being completely cut off due to the disciplinarian or moralistic religious atmosphere. No one is going to share in this level with the teacher and the students, and the teacher also, they don't have much time to spend with the teachers to take up these tiny little things and to communicate it. So therefore, we are trying to be contented with the superficial faith and the just unfounded faith. And we tell, don't smoke, don't do this and that. But if someone asks why, you don't know, you have no direct experience. So much so, your moral restrainment must be backed with this beginning, the middle and end kind of understanding. And then you can tell. The Buddha in this discourse, he says, when he is taking 6 years of this austere practices, how much he has gone wrong. It's utterly give a full bookkeeping and accounts. Anyone can practice. He says, don't do it. But by reading itself you can gain it. But I have done it. It is my last life. Buddha to be. You can read it. So therefore nothing will be a mistake once it is declared. As far as you are hiding, you are brooding. And the Buddha says, Sathagatappa vedisatsa bhikkhave dhamma vinayo vivato virochati na paticchano. Whatever the teaching the Buddha has given, when you declare open it never brood defilements. And whenever you close and hide, frustration, tension, and the communication gap. And that is not what we are developing as the Dhamma brothers or Dhamma family. We must have the faith each other, not only the faith to your own morality, not only the faith to your Buddha. Among the Dhamma group, among the Dhamma family, we must have openness, and you must not underestimate others as far as he or she is going to declare what is the truth, what is happening. So therefore, more and more you develop this kind of a faith, verifiable kind of a faith, you create another relationship with that kind of people, and very rare, but I will guarantee you it is more than what you think in the society. You may think no one is on that faith. That is the way when you become discouraged and irreligious. But in my life, Once I started, slowly, I started my peer group, and they are also simple living, high thinking kind of people, so you can cope up with. And you understand Dhamma is living, even at the morality level. And the second thing is the Buddha explained on the morality is no accusation from the others also. If you are not moral person, directly or indirectly, other people look down. In my life, after the age 26 and 7, I was immoral, but of course at home I am a very peaceful person. But I know internally, and people used to find fault with me. And later, once I declared, this is what happened, so I am put into my life experimenting, and there were some people in giving complete pardon and telling, very nice, because you are using it, you are applying yourself, and it is kind of an encouragement. Instead of discouraging, they will come and say, you have your own experience, immoral life as well as the moral life, and through that, mediate that, you have the tool called mindfulness. So therefore, even it is painfully slow, it's gathering the momentum in two ways. One thing is, the external blames will be reduced. The other thing is, the other people, those who are practicing in the same way, come into the same parallelism. And ultimately you see, instead of blame, they get the criticism, but mostly constructive, not destructive. And the third one is, with the legal and penal code, nothing to worry, because you are not transgressing social laws and civil laws, so therefore you have no fear from the going to the court or the police kind of thing. Even if it has happened, you have nothing to hide. And all these three are verifiable within this life, but religious wise, the Buddha says, after the death, if you are believing, you will not destined to the nether world, because you in this life you have done something positive, at least on morality, at least within verifiability. So therefore, you are not destined to this nether world, and that leave it aside, but balance 60%, you can verify. You can verify in this life. And that is how you put that faith into practice. And that is, it won't call faith, that is kusala chanda. The saddha is being translated as the faith. The kusala chanda is you put into practice, not the mere theoretical understanding. While put into practice, at least you must start moral restraint. Whenever you put into practice, you are no more a person on dana kusala or generosity. Generosity never considered as a practice in depth. Once you started the moral life only, you start to be a practitioner. Three restrainment: moral restrainment, concentration restrainment, and the wisdom restrainment. The morality is the starting point. So when a traditional country like Sri Lanka, you can see many people are very happy for dana, and means generosity, they give. But if you ask them to, why don't you, instead of giving so much of money and traveling so much of distance and searching about so much of faithful or trustworthy person, why don't you accept these precepts and be the precept holder? They are not happy. They are very happy to offer dana to the moral people rather than they become the moral people. So when I go to Wellington, I think that Bhante is from Canada, he told, when you go back to Canada, the Sri Lankan people coming to the temple, till 12 o'clock, they come and clean the temple, offer the thing and everything, and 12 o'clock they go back home. Westerners come after 12, eat everything available, and they practice in the whole evening, and sometimes the Sri Lankan people get delayed, and if they look into the meditation hall, they find some people come and sit, they don't know, and then ask the Bhante, what are they doing, and what is this? Then he says, this is what you call meditation. They never thought. After 12 o'clock you have to go and sit. And if the foreigner used to come in the morning time, he says, what is this so much of people? What they are doing? They are the people supporting us. They are the people bring food. It is the way this center is running. They never meet each other. Never. He says, this is the world. Generous people, they are very generous and give everything, and they go home and eat and sleep in the night. The other people, depending on what they given, and they overnight they meditate. You see, within one life, if you can understand from the generosity to the morality, if such a thing happen, what a kind of shifting of the paradigm. And if it is not happening, are we to tell the same faith to the generosity as well as or the morality? No. It is a kind of a difference. And from the moral restrainment to the concentration restrainment, the Upanishad used to say, the type of faith you develop or related to the morality, no consideration for the concentration. It has a completely different set of faith you must have for the concentration. So therefore, if it is a disease called immorality, moral restrainment is the medicine. But the disease is lack of concentration. The moral restrainment never answers that question, that disease. It has to have a separate medicine, that's a concentration restrainment. That's a separate thing. So by being moral, you can't gain concentration. The morality has to uplift it. Moral restrainment has to be uplifted to the concentration restrainment. That is what the Buddha says, when the log is inside the water, whatever the fight you are doing, whatever the dry wood you come and rub against, it never increases temperature even by 1 single centigrade. But once the log is up there in the bank and still wet, you may try, but it never happens. So it is something like you renounce physically, bodily, but the mind is full of the nivaranas or hindrances. So you have to, after drying off, still you have to rub again. So you have to undergo so much of exertion of power and striving, and there it may or may not be. Likewise, the 3 layers the Buddha explained, each and everyone has to go through. These are evolutionary stages or metamorphotic development by the generous or generosity, the merit you earn, not applicable to, directly nothing applicable to the moral restrainment or moral training. And the morality or moral training or the faith or merit you gain, you can't compensate to the concentration training. It's a different thing. So if you have not experienced the verifiable difference between the restrainment versus the moral restrainment versus the concentration restrainment, you may be striving, definitely you may be honest person and you may be taking pain. You can't expect results. So therefore, whenever the moral restrainment changing into the concentration restrainment, there's a separate tools, different rules. You have to clearly understand. For example, you come and you renounce from the house and you come to the meditation center as a lay person or as a ordained person, and you come and sit here, and this is a result of your morality. You come here because of the precepts, you are being treated here, and the facilities are given, whatever available, and you come and sit. And if you can appreciate your mere sitting here as a result of your morality, and if you consider pains are, legs are painful, mosquitoes are there, sounds are there, and if you are making so much of complaints, you will never think about the concentration. You have to appreciate, I come here and sit here because of my correct method. I was a moral person, so I am among the moral people. The group is moral people. So if you don't appreciate this, sitting itself is a result. It's a physical result. If you are not appreciating, And if you say that lacking thing or complaint, your mind is not prepared for the concentration. At least, the Buddha says, if you find any fault with your fellow being, your mind will never concentrate. It's Chaito killer. You have to understand each and everyone sacrificed, and they come here so sympathetic. Be compassionate. Be loving kindness, each and everyone's striving. And if you are going to find any mistake among your fellow beings, fellow practitioners, you are hacking yourself. You never get concentration. So, it is also part and parcel of the moral restrainment. You have to sympathize Sangha or the fellow being, fellow meditators. And so you are not sympathizing your family friends, but you get Dhamma family people, and then only, or I would rather say, you come and sit here. If you can see the relaxed and symmetric sitting posture as a here and now result, you are disqualified to have any concentration. While you are walking barefoot on the earth, Mother Earth, if you can't appreciate it, leave aside any kind of thing, I am symmetrically walking on the earth, that is because of my best investment, is a result. And if you can't appreciate it, you are disqualified to have any kind of concentration. While you are eating, if you can't appreciate it, while you are sleeping, while you are in the toilet, if you can't appreciate here and now the situation, don't expect the concentration restrainment will come automatically. No. You have come up to the moral restrainment, and if you are not appreciating it, you are disqualified. That very appreciation is highly and organically related to the faith. And it takes so much of time. You may think, I also thought, soon renounced, we get the package and we get the concentration as a piece of cheese. No, never. You have to strive, but that striving, that method of exerting is completely different from the moral restrainment. You have to listen, you have to learn. And the teacher will say, you have to appreciate the present moment. Never, otherwise no concentration. Imagine after long practice and so on, long kind of trial and error, appreciating now I am walking. Walking for the sake of walking. I am sitting for the sake of sitting. I am doing the day-to-day activities for the sake of doing. Then you familiarize the present moment, and when and where you appreciate the present moment or present posture, given situation, then only the mind knows the dwelling, how to be inside, how to look inside. Otherwise mind is definitely outside, or centrifugal and there are two forces when something is rotating, centrifugal force and the centripetus. And our life, unless otherwise it is self-restraint, is outwardly. When and where the restrainment happens, it will become centrifugal, and then only you are preparing for the concentration. Then only you can see what is happening within this very moment. Whether you like it or not, it is happening. But if you are not ready, if you are not prepared, if you are not adverting to see inside, that indicates you are hating the present moment. You are hating the insight. So therefore you complain this and that. But instead you appreciate whatever available and try to see. Then you can see, when you go to the seashore, you can either see the horizon where the deepest water, or you can see the waves in the thin water. So both of them are called the sea, water. And the deepest level is flat. From morning to evening, very boring, very monotonous. And you can see nothing to look. But in the shallow area, you can see waves coming and going, breaking. You can count them. But in the middle area, you can't count them. Billions of waves. So likewise, when you come and take the sea of activities or sea of metabolic activities, today in the question and answer, some people say, I feel the sitting posture as a vibration is right from the beginning. It's a vibration. I don't see the rising and falling. I don't see in-breath and out-breath. I don't see the beginning, the middle and the end of anything, but I know the orchestra. I can see the heat, cold, stiffness, tension, movements. It is what you call the body. And that means you are seeing the horizon. And some people says, that is nonsense, only I see the in-breath, out-breath, rising, falling, left leg, right leg. So his attention is on the shallow area, it's a wave action. It is separate. It has a separate beginning, the middle and the end. And when you are going little deep into the water, you can see waves are there, it's not breaking, and thousands and millions are there. So from this in-breath, out-breath to the horizon level, the shift going into the depth, each and every moment, all the three sets are there. The shallow water is available, medium water is available, deep water is available. Which one you are focusing your attention indicate your mental state. After long practice only, the way the Buddha explained, starting from the shallow level and going to the middle and to the deepest level. But if you are a person with good opening balance and have some kind of a potential, you may not observe and see the wave action like rising and falling and the in-breath and out-breath. You will start with the orchestra, the four elements. And you can see from whether you sit or whether you walk, wherever it may be, elements are there. So, if you have this open-mindedness, whenever mind is shallow, it focuses the shallow water. Then it can see the beginning, the middle and the end. Object-wise, it's a batch system. When you go to the horizon, it's a continuous system, feeding like a belt. It's ever coming, and only thing is, it's boring, eventless, not dramatic. So therefore, someone should have that faith. This is not something related to the self-restrainment on morality. This is the restrainment kind of you must have for the concentration to setsing. That is called, you must have impermanent notion and let things to happen. If you look at the shallow water, you can see up and down the spikes. But if you look at the deep water, with the same phenomena, you can see flat layer. And if you look at the middle area, you can see waves are there, and the glare is there. You can have. So whatever it may be, if you can explain as such, if you can explain as and when it happens, as it is, then the other person can understand what you are talking. But I can say no one never ever report as such. Everyone expects something to happen. And whatever happening, rejecting. And why not the other way around? So, never communication takes place. So, very difficult to give the advice because you do not know how to report as and when it happens. Even for an insight meditator or bare insight meditator, this concentration is a must. For me, concentration means communication. If you do not know how to tell what you observe, there's a miscommunication, then the teacher can completely mess you. And you can mess the teacher also. So the way you explain, it is a matter of using the language. If you do not know that, you may be a moral person. I mean, you are very good with the good intention and striving and everything, but teacher can't help you, teacher can't guide you. And Upanishad Sayadaw, he says there are 4 kinds of people. One person practice very well and he can report very well. So just like the Panchavagya Bhikkhu, soon the Buddha give the discourse, they are through. Some people are very honest and practice, they don't know how to explain. And that is the responsibility of the teacher. Teacher is 100% responsible for that kind of disciples. So teacher must assimilate the ways and means, because he is an honest person practicing, but he can't explain. So teacher has to cover from the behind and the front and tell him, teach him, aphorisms and everything. So that is, I found the Upanishad side is the best on the earth, and that also finished now. I have never seen such a person. When you are practicing, and even if you can't report it, he know. Just like teaching a baby how to speak, teach him. And he says it's utterly a teacher's responsibility. There are some other people not practicing, but they are lying as if they are very good meditators. So they have read books, and they say, first I have the Namarupa Parichya Jnana Bante, then I have the Pacchya Parikka Jnana Bante, and then I have the Sammasana Jnana. Utter wastage of time. And there are another type, not practicing, not reporting, it is not related to our talk. They are minding their own business. So these two types, practicing well and do not know how to report, and not practicing but lying according to the theoretical rut, you have to kick them off from the meditation center. So that is, now we are talking about the concentration training. That faith, when you go to the teacher, the way the teacher is wielding their God, you can't predict. It is such a coincidence or impromptu way the teachers are training you. If you are going to expect or anticipation or assuming or reactions, you are the very person blocking the communication. The teacher can't help you. So therefore, if you are honest or if you are innocent to tell what is happening, the Thomas Merton, the Trappist monk, ultimately he says, he became Buddhist also, whatever he may be, he says, if you are innocent, you are back in paradise. If you are not innocent, you are in the hell. We don't have innocence. We try to be smart. We try to brag with our theoretical understanding and deductive knowledge. Ultimately, teachers find very difficult. So we have to learn the art of how to be a beginner, how to be innocence. And that is a kind of faith. And that is highly related to the concentration training. And at the beginning, everyone will not fit into this so-called package. But after long practice, if someone is painfully gaining it, that's the only thing deciding the future of this asana or future of this dispensation. So therefore, as a teacher as well as a disciple must have a fair amount of patience or sympathetic idea how much it would have costed for this message to come through these 2,600 years. What a miracle, still we have the message. So therefore, how much we must be innocent, how much we must be yielding, how much we must have the faith to have the concentration. The day you gain the concentration, you may develop a fair doubt. Concentration is nothing to develop, you are born with. Concentration, nothing strange. Gaining concentration, you gain nothing. Only you recognize concentration as concentration, or you get alignment. So therefore, nothing you gain from the teacher, nothing you gain additional by concentration. The human mind have the full potential, the possibility. Unless otherwise you mess it, unless otherwise you disturb by your theoretical knowledge and the adamentation and assuming and reactions, you disturb it. When and where you become innocence, when and you become a beginner's mind, you find it is easy to come in. So when you are practicing, maybe in a residential retreat, maybe 10 days or so, third day, fourth day, like, sometimes soon you sit, 1 or 2 breaths time, calm, mind becomes very calm and quiet. And you can't imagine, how come that? Earlier I used to practice so much, still the mind calm, but when you are regularly practicing, when the momentum is gathering, a few breaths time, and ultimately you yourself doubt, how can that happen? Because the kind of faith is coming up to that concentration level, and once that is happened, now the Buddha says you kindle fire. With the effort and all you kindle fire, then only the wisdom training is going to happen. The wisdom training is the highly going against the grain. When the wisdom training is happening, you observe everything as an outsider, your generosity, your morality, your concentration training, everything is boosting your ego. Your generosity, your morality, your concentration is, everything is boosting your ego. Everything is boosting your conceit. Everything is boosting your desire. So how to look at? The spirituality is happening, and there you feel kind of a pleasure. You feel kind of a rapture, and you develop kind of a fear. Have I gained my egotistic idea, or have I lost? Have I increased my ego, the conceit, or lost? Still I am gathering more and more, or gaining something, or I am losing. So when and where you observe it, there should have a kind of a non-judgmental, choiceless kind of awareness that even though you are progressing, generosity, morality, concentration, you become an inflated person and conceited person and look down everything, and you think you are the person with everything, but that means more wisdom-wise you have gone to the bottom. So again you have to have a kind of a faith. It is very, very irrational, or not irrational, you can say radical. Quite radical, and sometimes you contradict yourself. Nothing to worry, you contradict with other people and kind of thing, and with that only you understand the relativity, with that only you understand the cause and effect relationship. So the person who has the generosity, moral restraint and the concentration restraint have enough raw material. But if you do not have this outlook, with the critical outlook from you, your progress itself from the another person's viewpoint, you may be boosting up. So therefore the wisdom training is very tricky. So I am not going to take much more time than this. So tomorrow I am off. I am going to Kandy. Day after we will proceed further. When and where the concentration gain, how much one must be very careful not to take a ride from this concentration, but to be critical and to go against the grain and see the crux of the teaching of the Buddha, because you are then qualified, you have kindled the fire. So that is how the Buddha is explaining. We have already tackled only the faith, and even though we have not gone to the wisdom. So practice morality, practice the concentration, but don't foster the conceit. Don't multiply your egotistic idea. Be aware when it is happening, that also may come. And that is why I am telling, that is why that Thomas Merton is telling, be innocent. Just a beginner. Just like a commoner. Just like a citizen John. And then progress is unhindered. Soon you assume. Soon you react. Then you are the very person is disturbed Hope you are not, as a group, disturbing each other, individually not disturbing each other. Be alert and keep the room open for this wisdom train also through this faith, through this mindfulness, and through these 4 limbs of striving. With that remark, I would like to sum up today's talk. Thank you very much for listening.